Ratty stinking ratty dilly.
Wagwan YouTube, what you saying? It is I, Diligent Fingers, and welcome back to another video. Right now you're going to get into a track breakdown video taken from my Motion Gang Members Club, which is a Patreon style membership service that I set up back in January. If you want to join the Members Club and get these videos as soon as they come out, just go to www.diligentfingers.uk, go to memberships, pick tier 2 and you'll be able to get exclusive monthly tracks and track breakdown videos like this, plus merch like what I'm wearing now. But until then, enjoy the video. Wagwan gang, what you saying? Hope everybody's blessed. Happy Sunday. And yeah, we're getting into another track breakdown and yeah, a little bit of a delay on this one because I had to go back in and remake some stuff and all that kind of good stuff, because it was a while that I actually it was a while ago since I actually made this tune, which is So Many Times, which came out on Voices Volume 1, which I really do need to get a Volume 2 done for that series. But yeah, it came out on Voices Volume 1 and features the amazing Charla Green, Sheffield's finest. Hold Tight Confide over in Sheffield as well. Yeah, man, this was at a very exciting time. Basically, like 2019. It didn't come out until 2020, and by that point lockdown had come into play and all that kind of good stuff. But I think this came out in 2019, the Voices Volume 1 EP on Liquid Lab, which is the Liquid sister label to Code Lab Recordings. And yeah, man, again, it was an exciting time. It was the first time that me, Big Jen, and man like S had really started working together and stuff. It was the first time me and Sahela had started working together, and you know about Slow Down, which also came from that EP. Yeah, man, just a very, very collaborative and creative time around that time and stuff. So, and when I sent this off, I had this instrumental for a while that I'd made. I'd had this beat for a while, say about 2-3 years. And I couldn't find anybody to sing on it. Like, I didn't feel confident enough to sing on it and stuff like that. But then I'd heard about Charla Green. She was making jungle and she also sang and stuff. I just sent it off to her. I just thought, let me see what happens. Same with Sahela, to be fair. Let me just see what happens, you know? Let me see if she responds to it or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Let me see if she's actually feeling it and what she can come up with. And with me, when it comes to singers, I never give singers a brief unless I actually have one, or unless there's a specific theme to the song that's already in place. And they'll be able to pick that up from hearing, do you know what I mean, the lyrics and stuff like that. But if it is just a blank canvas, I've made the track and I just want a singer to sing on it, I never give them a brief. I never tell them I want it to be like this or I want them to sound like this, because ultimately I want to hear what they come up with. I ultimately want to hear like what was their interpretation of the instrumental. You know what I mean? What was was the feelings that they got from it? Where did the tune end up taking them? And I never expected this from Charla. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, just to give people a refresher, here's the track.
Was it in this life or the one before? Time starts to loosen from high school, and as the days they creep by, dreams that seep into so many times. I feel like I've played these lines oh so many times.
Yeah, man. And that's what she came up with. And it completely changed the feel of the track for me. Like this is gonna be another one where this track was made or completed based on feeling. Do you know what I mean? Like when I made the instrumental itself, so what I started with, which I think was this sample, which just came straight out of just came straight out of Logic itself. I think it was one of the loops that was in Logic itself and stuff, and I really liked it. I really, really liked it. I thought I'd get some meta filter on there to deal with like bringing it in and stuff like that. Get some Valhalla delay and stuff just to help it ring out so it doesn't just sound like it's a loop coming from somewhere. Do you know what I mean? I wanted it to sound like it was something that was actually being played. And even though it says it's called main haunting pads, like to me it didn't sound like pads. It sounded like guitars, you know? Like, they sound like pads to me. I mean, they sound like guitars to me. And if I take the EQ off, the filter and the Valhalla. Do you know what I'm saying? They sound like guitars to me. But that within itself sounded really, really, really good. Do you know what I mean? As a starting point. And there was enough feeling within the choice of chords that were used, the riff that was used, the melody, and all that kind of stuff. Where when it came to it for me, like completing the rest of the track, or at least completing the intro, it was all about just adding to it, really and truly, as it always is with me. If I start with a sample, so instantly I wanted to get some other pads in there, so I found this calming waves pad, which again, straight stock Logic business. Just really nice, just to go along with it. And then at 17, really I should be fading the ends of those samples, because you can hear that little click sample. So let's give it a look. So I've added another pad, the Ghost synth pad. So if we had a listen to this again, just to add more feeling, add to the sample, the feeling that's coming from the main sample, add more feeling, add more depth to it, add more layers. This is really low textured pad. And then the main thing was for me is to find that hook melody that everyone can sort of latch onto, and that's where these air bells came into it. And this is all just stock Logic stuff. ES2 sampler for the air bells. It's just an air bells patch. For the synth pad, I found this in Complete Control, and that's just from the FM8. So that's not stock. So that's the other thing that's not stock, basically. So altogether, in context, I think it was just all percussion and stuff like that afterwards. Percussion and drums, but altogether, in context, that's what gives, the intro so much feeling, along with, Charla's vocals. Processing on the main sample, so with the EQ, Metafilter and Valhalla delay back on. See what I'm saying? I think that's what helped Charla to be able to sort of like find her sort of anchor for the tune, because that's the main melody throughout the whole of the tune, really. As you can see, I take certain parts out in certain sections, add them back in, take parts out for other sections and stuff. We've got the bass, the sub bass, which is just my standard 808 sub. Really simple. In terms of compression, I've added compression on there. It's mainly more for the sidechain than actually wanting to compress the sub itself. So I've got a sidechain to the kick, really light threshold, and that really light ratio. So it's hardly doing anything really. It's just ducking it down a little bit, and that it's ducking it down a little bit just to give the kick more room for it to actually come through. And that's it. In terms of melody, in terms of everything else other than the drums and the vocals, that's it. Really, it only takes a couple of things to create emotion and feeling within a track. The rest is just making sure, especially in drum and bass when it comes to liquid, the rest is just making sure you've got strong drums, strong bass, and you're doing things to stop it from feeling repetitive. And that vocals really helps out with that as well. If you can get a good vocalist, especially one that can write their own lyrics as well, and that, because unfortunately I've come across a lot of vocalists that don't write their own stuff, and it becomes more of a challenge to like get something put together and stuff, because you're having to do two jobs. You're having to write the lyrics that you want the person to sing, and me, I want the track itself, the music itself, to be able to lead the person and make them conjure up something themselves, really. Like I said in the beginning, I don't give any vocalists a brief or anything like that. Sometimes it can make it harder for the vocalist if they don't have something to start off with themselves. But I found, the real magic comes from like giving them a blank canvas, giving vocalists a blank canvas for them to be able to like paint on and stuff. So tip to any producers out there, if you're working with vocalists, give them a blank canvas. Don't have any other vocal samples in the track. Do you know what I mean? Don't have any other like speaking samples unless you really want it there and you want that to be the theme of the track. And that, like, don't have any talking, speaking, vocal chops or anything like that in the track. Anything that could distract from giving the vocalist their idea or helping the vocalist get to their idea, their true idea, not yours, their true idea. If you want something from the vocalist, communicate with them, let them know. Do you know what I mean? And if they can do that, wicked. If they can't do that, don't take it as any kind of slight. Just understand how they work and then be able to build from there, basically. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, in terms of the melody, the body of the track, the thing that hooks people in, not much at all. As you can see, 3 different tracks, sub, 4 different tracks, sub, done. Do you know what I'm saying? When it came to the drums now, initially, where's the break itself? Because there was a specific break that I wanted to use. And there's a lot to this actual break, which I just don't do anymore because I ended up feeling like I was pulling my hair out trying to get this to work and it didn't work. But basically I found the boo worm break, decided to chop it up and layer it up to get things to sound stronger. So that's why on the kick there's a completely different kick layered up underneath it. But here's the drums by themselves. So that's the break that, I ended up using. Split it apart, like in terms of layers. So when it comes to the processing that I did, highs, took out the lows, took out most of the mids for like the snare top layer and that. The hat layer itself. So that's another break, and all I've done is I've actually left that as it is. Because there's only certain things that I want anyway, really. But light tops, is the name of the break that I ended up finding. So it's just the top layers of, the original break that it was taken from. Like I said, snares, I've got the tops, the mids, the lows for the snare. And that I've got the kick, mids and tops, and then a kick sub. Me personally, if I don't need to do this, then I won't do this. Do you know what I mean? Or at least to this extent with that. But in terms of what makes up these drums, this is it basically. Just with added steps that now I don't personally feel that you need to make. If you put more time into finding the right sounds, the right drums that you want to like work with your actual track, that will yield you better results than doing all of this. Do you know what I mean? Because really, if I go through all of this, there's no need really for it. Like in terms of the EQ, the lows for the snare, I've taken a lot of the low end out in terms of the frequencies itself because I'm layering it up with something else. I've taken some of the highs out. But really, what have I actually done? Do you know what I'm saying? I've just broken things apart in terms of frequencies just for the sake of doing it. Really, it sounds great. The track sounds great. Do you know what I mean? Some of the processing that I'd done before originally, it's not here because some of the plugins that I had before back in 2018, 2019, I've not got them anymore. So that's why I've had to remake things and just get things to at least a decent level so I can do this breakdown. And that's why it sounds like very different sonically to the version that's released. But yeah, all of this I just didn't need to do. If anything, adding a kick, because the original break, the weight of the kick in the original break wouldn't have been enough compared to like modern standards. So adding a kick, yeah, I would have done that now. I probably would have added another snare rather than splitting the original snare up and trying to do whatever with that. And that I probably would have added another snare, EQ'd, make sure there's no phasing and things like that, you know. But all of this, 3 channels just for one snare, and then you've got to come to like mix it and things like that. No, I don't do things like this anymore. But then when it comes to the rest of the drums, and that really all it mainly is just adding things to help it move along. So I've got a ride, I've got some white noise just to fill out the spaces in between the hats and things like that. So that takes out a fair bit. Some extra rides here and there. That's it, really. Like, honestly, that's it. I've not done any grouping on the drums or anything like that. So nowadays, I probably would have you know, grouped the drums together, probably done some like bus processing, added a compressor, some sort of vintage like compressor with some saturation inbuilt already. Do you know what I mean? Just to help bring the drums out a bit more. But yeah, not much to it at all. Some rises, some crashes, as always. But then the most important part was processing the main vocals. Like, that was the most important part. And that really, and the main things that I did do with that is group the vocals together, added some overall EQ. So I've not done any EQing unless I've needed to, specifically for like creative purposes. But if you see on these channels here, I've not done any EQing. If anything, just compression. Maybe some pitch shifting or pitch correction, but pitch shifting. Pitch shifting to like play about with the vocals. Some delay on certain backing vocals. Some delay on the main vocal just to make it sound so much more haunting and things like that. But on individual tracks themselves, no EQ. No EQ. On the group bus, I've got overall EQ, so I'm taking out some of the mids, all of the lows basically, but a little bit of the mids and the low mids. Sibilance to deal with the S's from waves. I hardly use this plugin anymore, and not really. I just tend to go to like the stock de-esser plugin in Logic, and that. Some compression, a bit on the threshold. Little bit more than what it normally starts out at, which is 2. Brought it up to 3 on the threshold. No makeup. 50, so fast, pretty fast attack. Bit of a slow release and that. Not too slow though. That's about it. when it came to compression overall. And then this would have been, this plugin that's not working here, would have been a stereo imager, basically, just to widen out the vocals a bit more. I didn't really think to bother to actually do it whilst for this breakdown, but basically that's all that would have been. Now what I would normally use is, I would say, wider, and probably have it at about, say, 15 to 20%. I'll put it up to 20.
Oh, so many times.
So that's with it off.
I feel like I've played these lines.
And that's with it on.
Oh, so many times.
And that's it, really. From how emotional Charla, sort of wrote the lyrics and sang the vocals, all I wanted to do when it came to the processing is add to that and make the vocals feel like they're sat on top of the track rather than trying to fit them in. So then it's not clashing too much with the rest of the track. And it helps it sort of feel like it's all been put together. Like the vocals are the cherry on top. That's the thing that leads you, that draws you in, basically. And yeah, because there wasn't much in the track itself in terms of mid basses and other noises and stuff like that, it was just some nice pads going with the main sample melody, the sub, just because that's all that was in there, it made it so much easier to just balance out the vocals and just let them breathe, just sit on the track and breathe, really. So yeah, not much of a breakdown or an explanation to this. Again, this was more about feeling how the track feels, early like sort of production mistakes, or at least what I feel like are time wasting mistakes that are made in this track. But in the end, it all came together, and yeah, it's a wicked tune. It's a wicked tune that a lot of people responded to. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I'm happy overall with the end result. I do see it as a finished track. I do love listening to it every time I play it. It doesn't get old to me. But in terms of like the production itself, there's a lot of things that I could have done better, really and truly, in terms of from what I know now compared to 5 years ago in 2019 and stuff. And that is, and it's only subtle little things that I would change in regards to what makes this track. It probably would have ended up with less tracks in total, basically, because again, there's not much to it. There's not much to this at all. But as long as you have an understanding of feeling, of ambience, of texture, as long as you understand where you want to take this track, do you know what I mean? And just the basic things that you need to do to make sure that everything works well, fits well, do you know what I mean? It's balanced well, and overall ends up being just a nice sonical experience for the listener. You're all good, man. You're all good, So yeah, sorry if this didn't seem that in depth and stuff. I'm gonna make sure I do find a track for the next breakdown, which will be for December. I will make sure for December I've got a really good track that I can actually break down and go in depth with you. But yeah, a lot of the time I just keep things simple, really, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. You'd be surprised how simple some of the biggest tracks in the world actually are, and that, really. But yeah, that seems to be a running theme with me. Just keep things simple, and you seem to get pretty good results with stuff. So yeah, thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have an amazing day, an amazing week. Take care of yourselves, take care of your health, take care of your mental health, because you don't know, good mental health is wealth. Forward ever, backward never. Motion gang for life. And as always, blessings to you all.